There's a strange kind of torture that happens after a conversation ends. You leave the room, you close the door, you drive home, you try to continue your day, but your mind does not leave with you. It stays there. It goes back to the same sentence, the same expression, the same pause, the same moment where you should have said something different. Maybe you spoke too much, maybe you said too little. Maybe your joke sounded strange. Maybe your answer was weak. Maybe they misunderstood you. Maybe you looked nervous. Maybe you should have defended yourself. Maybe you should have stayed quiet. The conversation is over. But inside your mind, it keeps happening again and again and again. You replay it while brushing your teeth. You replay it while driving. You replay it before sleep. You replay it the next morning when the other person has probably already forgotten it. And the worst part is this. Every time you replay it, you do not feel better. You feel more trapped. Because your mind is not simply remembering the conversation. It is trying to repair it. It is trying to go back into a moment that no longer exists and create a version where you were calmer, smarter, sharper, funnier, stronger, more respected, more understood. But the past does not open, so the mind keeps knocking. Today, we are going to examine why you keep replaying conversations in your head, why small social moments can feel so large, why your brain keeps returning to what you should have said, why shame turns ordinary memories into mental loops, and how to finally stop treating every conversation like a trial you are still losing. The first reason is simple. Your brain treats social moments like survival events. Human beings are not built to ignore social signals. For most of human history, belonging was not just emotional, it was practical. Being accepted by the group meant protection, cooperation, information, food, safety, and survival. Being rejected by the group was dangerous, so your brain learned to pay attention to faces, tone, pauses, silence, laughter, approval, rejection, respect, and embarrassment. This is why one strange look can stay with you longer than 10 normal smiles. Your brain is designed to notice possible social danger. Did I offend them? Did I look weak? Did I say something stupid? Did they lose respect for me? Did I reveal too much? Did I miss something important? To the logical mind, these questions can seem exaggerated. But to the nervous system, they feel important. Because the nervous system does not always know the difference between a real threat and a social threat. A difficult conversation can feel like danger even when nobody is attacking you. An awkward silence can feel like rejection even when the other person was only thinking. A small mistake can feel like exposure even when nobody else noticed. That is why your mind keeps returning to the moment. It is trying to understand whether you are safe. It is trying to read the room after the room is gone. The second reason is that you are trying to regain control after the fact. During a real conversation, everything happens quickly. Someone says something, you respond. Their face changes, your emotions rise, your body reacts, your mind searches for the right words. You try to stay calm, you try to sound normal, you try to protect your image. And then, hours later, when the pressure is gone, the perfect answer finally appears. Now you know what you should have said. Now you see the sentence that would have made you look confident. Now you understand the hidden meaning. Now you can hear the better version of yourself. This is one of the cruelest parts of overthinking. Your mind becomes brilliant after the moment has passed, but the reason is obvious. The brain works better when it is not under pressure. In the moment, you are not writing a script. You are managing emotion, timing, tone, body language, and uncertainty. After the moment, there is no pressure, no eyes on you, no immediate reaction, no risk. So your mind starts editing. It creates a better version of the conversation, a cleaner version, a sharper version, a version where you said the right thing at exactly the right time. But this creates a trap, because every perfect imaginary response becomes evidence that the real you failed. You compare your real-time reaction to your after-the-fact intelligence. That comparison is unfair. You are judging the person who is inside the pressure by the standards of the person who is safely outside it. The third reason is that shame makes small moments feel much larger than they were. Shame has a magnifying effect. It takes a small moment and makes it feel like a full identity. You did not just say something awkward. Now you are awkward. You did not just answer badly. Now you are weak. You did not just misunderstand something. Now you are stupid. You did not just lose your words. Now you are socially broken. This is how shame works. It does not say, that moment was uncomfortable. It says, that moment revealed who you really are. And once a memory becomes connected to identity, the mind has trouble letting it go. Because now you are not reviewing a conversation. You are defending yourself against a conclusion. This is why a simple sentence can haunt you, not because the sentence itself was so important, but because of what you believe it proved about you. Maybe it proved you are not confident. Maybe it proved people do not respect you. Maybe it proved you are not as smart as you want to be. Maybe it proved you are easy to dismiss. Maybe it proved you are still the same person you were trying to outgrow. And once the mind attaches that meaning to a moment, it keeps returning to the moment to fight the meaning. You replay the conversation because you are secretly trying to prove that the painful conclusion is not true. But the more you replay it, the more real it feels. The fourth reason is that unclear endings create mental loops. The mind can usually let go of a conversation when it feels complete. You said what you meant, they understood. The tone was clear. The ending made sense. But when a conversation ends with uncertainty, the brain keeps searching for closure. Did they mean that as a joke or an insult? Were they disappointed? Were they being polite? Did I make it weird? Did I say too much? Did they notice I was uncomfortable? Are they going to remember this differently? The problem is that many social situations do not give clean endings. People leave quickly. Messages go unanswered. Tone is unclear. Faces are hard to read. Some people hide what they really think. Some people are polite while feeling something else. Some people are distracted and we mistake it for judgment. So the brain tries to complete the missing information. It goes back to the same moment and searches for clues. The pause, the look, the half smile, the way they said your name, the time they took to answer, the message they did not send. This is why uncertain conversations are so exhausting. You are not only remembering what happened, you are trying to solve what it meant. And because you cannot access the other person's mind, the loop never fully closes. The fifth reason is that you are not replaying the conversation accurately. You are editing it. Memory is not a perfect recording, it is a reconstruction. And when you are anxious or ashamed, the reconstruction becomes distorted. Your mind zooms in on your weakest moment. It cuts out everything normal. It removes the parts where you sounded fine. It forgets that the other person also hesitated. It forgets that people are usually focused on themselves. It forgets that conversations are messy by nature. Instead, your mind builds a highlight reel of your mistakes. One phrase becomes the whole conversation. One pause becomes proof of failure. One awkward second becomes the emotional center of the entire memory. This is why replaying does not always lead to clarity. Sometimes it leads to exaggeration. The more you replay a distorted memory, the stronger it becomes, not because it is more accurate, but because it is more rehearsed. Your brain starts treating the edited version as the real version, and after enough repetition, you are no longer reacting to what happened. You are reacting to the story your mind built around what happened. This is why people can feel embarrassed for years about moments that nobody else remembers. The memory survived because you kept feeding it attention. The other person moved on, but you stayed in the editing room. The sixth reason is that you want to be seen correctly. Many people think they are overthinking because they are weak, but often they are overthinking because they care deeply about being understood. You do not just want to sound good. You want your inner self to match your outer expression. You want people to see what you meant, not only what you managed to say. You want your intelligence, kindness, strength, humor, or confidence to come through clearly. So when a conversation fails to represent you properly, it feels painful. You think, that was not what I meant. That was not who I am. I sounded worse than I actually am. I looked less confident than I feel inside. I let the wrong version of me appear. This is a very human pain, the pain of being misrepresented by your own nervous system. You had a thought, but it came out clumsy. You had a boundary, but it came out soft. You had anger, but it came out too late. You had confidence, but your voice betrayed you. You had the truth, but the timing was wrong. And now your mind keeps replaying the conversation because it wants another chance to show the real version of you. But this is the hard truth. No single conversation can perfectly represent a person. You are too complex for one moment. You are not the awkward sentence. You are not the nervous laugh. You are not the delayed response. You are not the answer you thought of 3 hours later. You are a whole human being, not one social performance. The seventh reason is that imaginary conversations feel productive, even when they are not. Replaying a conversation can feel like problem solving. It feels like you are learning. It feels like you are preparing. It feels like you are protecting yourself from future mistakes. And sometimes, a small amount of reflection is useful. You can learn from a conversation. You can notice a pattern. You can decide to speak differently next time. You can repair something if repair is needed. But there is a point where reflection becomes rumination. Reflection asks, what can I learn? Rumination asks, how can I punish myself until the past changes? Reflection ends with a decision. Rumination ends with exhaustion. Reflection gives you one useful lesson. Rumination gives you 10 imaginary versions of a conversation you cannot enter again. This is why replaying feels active, but leaves you drained. You are spending mental energy without creating movement. You are circling the same emotional wound and calling it analysis. The goal is not to never think about conversations. That would be impossible. The goal is to know when thinking has stopped helping. If the replay gives you one clear lesson, take the lesson. If it gives you only shame, self-attack, and imaginary arguments, you are not learning anymore. You are looping. So how do you stop? The first step is to name the loop. When the conversation starts playing again, do not immediately follow it. Pause and say to yourself, this is a replay, not a crisis, not a warning, not proof that something is wrong. A replay. That small act matters because it separates you from the thought. You are no longer inside the conversation. You are watching your mind try to reopen it. The second step is to ask one clean question. Is there anything real I need to do? Do I need to apologize? Do I need to clarify something? Do I need to set a boundary? Do I need to follow up? Do I need to learn one lesson for next time? If the answer is yes, do the real action. Send the message, make the apology, clarify the point, write down the lesson, prepare one sentence for next time. But if there is no real action to take, then the replay is not solving anything. It is only feeding the feeling. The third step is to stop trying to win the imaginary version of the conversation. This is difficult because the imaginary version gives you unlimited chances. You can finally say the perfect line. You can finally make them understand. You can finally become calm. You can finally become untouchable. But winning inside your head does not free you. It keeps you attached to the moment. You do not need to defeat the memory. You need to exit it. The fourth step is to return to the present through the body. Rumination pulls you into a mental room. The body brings you back to the real one. Stand up, walk, drink water, wash your face, step outside, move your hands, change your environment, do something physical and simple. Not because it magically fixes everything, but because the nervous system often needs evidence that the moment is over. The conversation is not happening now. You are here, in this room, in this body, in this day. The fifth step is to practice imperfect closure. This may be the hardest part. Some conversations will never give you the clean ending you want. Some people will misunderstand you. Some moments will stay awkward. Some answers will come too late. Some people will not explain what they meant. Some versions of you will appear clumsy, nervous, or unfinished. And still, life has to continue. You cannot wait for every memory to feel perfect before you allow yourself peace. Sometimes closure is not getting the final answer. Sometimes closure is saying, I did not handle that perfectly, but I'm allowed to move on. I may have sounded awkward, but I am still allowed to respect myself. I may have been misunderstood, but one moment does not define me. I may do better next time, but I do not need to torture myself tonight. This is what the mind slowly has to learn. Not every conversation is a verdict. Not every pause is rejection. Not every awkward sentence is a life sentence. Not every memory deserves unlimited access to your nervous system. The people around you are usually not thinking about you as much as your anxiety says they are. They are thinking about themselves, their own words, their own problems, their own awkward moments, their own lives. You are not on trial as often as you feel. And even when you are judged, judgment is not death. It is a moment, an opinion, a reaction, a passing interpretation from another imperfect person. You do not have to build a prison around it. The next time your mind replays a conversation, listen carefully, not to the content of the replay. Listen to the need underneath it. Maybe you need reassurance. Maybe you need confidence. Maybe you need a boundary. Maybe you need forgiveness. Maybe you need to accept that you were human in public. Because that is what most of these memories are. Moments where you were human in public. You hesitated. You tried. You spoke. You failed to say it perfectly. You wanted to be seen well. You wanted to belong. You wanted to matter. You wanted to be understood. There is nothing shameful about that. But you cannot live your life inside conversations that already ended. At some point, you have to stop rehearsing the past and return to the day that is still open. The conversation is over. The room is gone. The moment has passed, and you are still here. Not ruined, not exposed, not defined by one sentence, still learning, still becoming, still allowed to continue. Subscribe to Value Psychology for more deep videos on psychology, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and modern life. And in the comments, write one word: released. Because maybe the conversation does not need to be replayed again. Maybe it only needs to be released.